Good morning. That's my best Tim Cook. Hi, this is GarageBand Weekly, a very special edition of GarageBand Weekly because this week we are breaking down everything that happened at the Worldwide Developer Conference keynote. Yes, that's WWDC to us lay people, and we're going to talk a little bit about all the changes to iOS, watchOS, tvOS, macOS, visionOS, and iPadOS. But we're going to break it down without the guff. No additional guff required. So we're going to keep it simple and keep it easy. What is the breakdown? If you're just here to find out, was there anything interesting, Johns? What do I need to know about this stuff? Yeah, there were a couple of things. Here's the high level overview notes, the cliff notes, the elevator pitch. It's iOS 7 all over again. No, it's not really. No, Apple have actually changed up the design of what they're doing, which is making it liquid glass. Yeah, liquid glass is the theme of this update, and we'll show you, or we'll talk about what that means. So they do this from time to time. Companies do this from time to time where they need to basically kind of reinvent the wheel. They need to make everything like 2026 look and compliant with 2026. So they've changed up a lot of the theming. And the other big news item is that they've made it aligned across all of their different devices. So your iPhone, your iPad, your Vision OS, for all people that have the Vision Pro, your watch, your TV, your Mac. Everything's going to have the same look. And they've been working towards this over the last few years. It's why I moved to Mac, because guess what? It's more like just using a big iPad with a keyboard these days. And guess what? Now the iPad's going to be like using a small Mac with a keyboard or without a keyboard for sometimes. So that's the major changes. There are some very cool tweaks. You would have seen in the title, there's some cool tweaks to iPadOS. Not going to bury the lead here. We can finally select an audio device. Yeah. And we can finally use Windows. And we can finally do things like render out video in the background while we do other things. Finally, multitasking. It's like it's 1995 all over again. So that's it. Thanks, folks. Thanks for being here. But no, we will go through it in all the detail. But first of all, we do want to say g'day to the fine folks who are here with us live. Thomas Christ, yeah, the Windows Vista. It is. Remember that? What did they call it? They called it some sort of glass thing, didn't they? Windows Vista. Who remembers the Vista? Aero design. That's what it was. See, Thomas already put it there. The aero design in Windows Vista was the thing. Hello to Mark Bro. G'day to Tremor Bear. Hello, Sean Chandler. Hello to Jade Star. We've got Al Davis. I saw sneak in before. Hello to Denise. Thank you for being here. Andy Spine is here, our Bluey fan friend. Thank you all for hanging out with us. If you have questions as we go through, you want to know something specific, you can go ahead and ask that. But why don't we dive in? Let's talk about everything that went down. So iOS, watchOS, tvOS, all the OSs are being featured, and we'll be talking about each and every one of them as we go through here. Let's click the button. Interestingly, they had a bit of an AI brag. So they talked about how good Apple Intelligence is and how Siri's good. Yeah, but the interesting thing was that they're actually opening up their Apple Intelligence stuff to other app developers, which is a good thing. So this means that in the future we could see things like other AI models or other music apps being able to actually utilize some of the on-device, not in the cloud, Apple Intelligence stuff. So that can only be a good thing. They went through a whole bunch of different things that they can that they can help you with, all the different tools and the Genmojis and all. They just wanted to remind you that they have actually done some things with their AI. Yeah. All right. This is what your new glass is going to look like. This is a music video experience that you can get with Apple Music. There it is. There's the liquid glass that you can look like, and it's a translucent layer. So instead of things being solid, they're now kind of translucent. And again, if you've been playing along at home, you'll know that every now and then we just get these changes. These things come in and tweaks the way things go, and this is the latest tweak to that design. There's some more glass. Oh, that's the Photos app. So there's your Photos app, which has some changes to the way that looks. And look, this is a good change. You got video and photo right there up front. So instead of having all those different modes, now the two things that, let's be honest, all of us use 99% of the time are there front and center. That's a good thing. Good change. Good Apple. There's a look at the Photos library. And guess what? They made a funny comment here. I'm going to give them credit on a couple of things here. They talked about the fact that many of you missed using tabs. That's Apple for. We removed tabs, and you all got really angry and hated the new Photos app, so we put them back. That's the version of that one. There's new changes to FaceTime as well, which is a thing. I don't know. Does anyone use FaceTime a lot? I'm not a huge FaceTime user. Yeah, so there's your new tabs. CarPlay got some updates. There's a new CarPlay Ultra if you've got an expensive car that has that. And yeah, you now got widgets in your CarPlay. You can get widgy with it. This was interesting. This is all the communication stuff that went down. So there's Craig Federighi. Oh, by the way, I skipped over the fact that at the start there was a bit of a lame promotion for the new Formula One movie with Craig driving a car and Tim being in the control room. And you know what? Bit of fun. I'll grant them a little bit of fun there. So here are some changes to the phone app. You can now get notifications, and it'll help you identify if you're getting scam calls. This one's interesting because I'm big against scam callers. So what it'll do now, it does the equivalent of what the actual call centers do, which is it answers for you. And I don't know if it says hello in your voice or in a robot voice or whatever, but it actually answers, and then it'll transcribe what they say. So for me, if it says, "Hello, Peter, this is someone from Save Now. We'd like to talk to you about your electricity bill," I'll be able to say no. Whereas if it is Greg from downstairs with a package, I'll be able to say, "Greg, I want to see your package, and I will come down now." Yeah? Yeah. All right. So there's again, changes. You have backgrounds now. Well, welcome to the 1999. No, messaging backgrounds. You have it in all your other things now. You have it in your iOS stuff. Yeah, that's Christine for customer service. How may I assist you today? That's the thing where you can put yourself on hold. So, and look, there's phone systems. I used to work in call centers. There's phone systems that use this sort of stuff. They used like a queue buster was one of the brands of things where if you call and you're waiting on hold, it will call you back when they come back. So if you're on hold waiting for an operator, you can basically say, "All right, I'm going to go off and get on with my life." And then when the operator answers, it, funnily enough, says, "Please hold for Pete." And then I come back and do that. Yeah, so I think it's good. The chances of that operator that's working, that's being absolutely rammed in a call center with 10-minute queues and hundreds of customers waiting, actually then waiting for you to mosey on back and re-answer your phone, slim to none. I don't know if you've ever been on hold for a long time, but as soon as that human answers, you better be talking straight away. They're like, "All right, you got a human, go." And you got to do it. But it's a good idea, good suggestion. They've got Apple Cash now. Yeah, you can pay. I thought that said Elon at first, and I'm like, are they trolling? Pay Elon $30, but it's pay Elton $30. So I don't know if it's Elton John or someone else that you're dining with. You can do polls in your group chats, which is a thing. If you're like, where should we go? We should go glamping. We should go hiking. We should go trekking. I love that they're always things like none of us real people actually do. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm sort of extending there. But for me, it would be like, which pub do we go to for happy hour on Friday night? The Earl, the Leicester, as opposed to these people that are like, "Oh yeah, let's all go camping or hiking or kayaking down a whitewater river." I don't know, etc. I forgot what I even put this in here for. Oh yeah, you can use ChatGPT. This is the new Genmoji stuff that you can use. You can do fun things like using ChatGPT for some of your images. So if you've used Genmoji or you've used the Image Playground, you'll know that is a thing. This is cool. This is actually pretty cool. So this is translation. So Apple are finally getting into the translation game full on. So this is translating not only text, but speech. Yeah, we're finally at that Star Trek thing. What was it? The universal translator, where you talk and then it interprets that and then it speaks that to the other person. And then they talk, translates, speaks, and also adds the text in your language. So I got to tell you, that's kind of cool. I approve. I think that these are the sort of changes that I think we would like. I had to put this in here because music, lyrics translation that we get here in your Apple Music, and also lyrics pronunciation. An auto mix. So, I don't know if you've ever played around with DJ type apps. 'Cause, again, this is a music channel, and we're talking about this is called GarageBand Weekly. But I actually kind of like the idea of it being able to do some beat matching and tempo matching, and actually auto mix your tracks. It'd be interesting to find out. I'll be testing this out and see how it goes for like rock music, because auto mixing is great for things that have beats that are in 4/4 time that you can tempo and beat match. Not so great for a ballad or some soft rock. You can pin your favorite artist to the top, so make sure as soon as we get this, you pin me to the top of there. Maps has got some changes, so it tracks your routes. And Apple were keen to say throughout this presentation, Apple said, they said two things that were interesting. They said everything's private, everything's on device, you can delete it, you can trust us, big padlock Apple logo. And they also said this is giving it like a new fresh coat of paint, but everything's still familiar enough so you'll know where everything is. You won't have to stress about not knowing where your favorite stuff is. It'll also remember where you visited, and again, you can delete all your previous places. If you're worried about this, Google are already tracking this. Unless you've set your settings in your Google to say don't, they're probably already, your Google Maps is probably already tracking you. So if you go back in there, it's kind of disturbing how much it knows. Like, go and look there. Go to your Google history and your Google Maps. Go to the history of where you've been. If you haven't turned it off and you have to deliberately set it to turn off, it tracks your places. You can put your driver's license or your digital ID. These are all in their infancy, and a lot of people still don't trust them because computers. Like this one, if you're using your wallet for your flights, so for your boarding passes, it'll give you a map of where you're going, which I've always find is weird because you get to the airport and I'm like, I don't even know where Terminal 3 is, let alone where the gates are that I'm looking for. So yeah, you can do new Apple Pay things. I thought this was a little disturbing. You can now use Apple Pay, pay in 4 installments, not only for digital purchases, but for purchasing them in the real world, because we all know how well the installment pay systems are going. They're making all the money, and they're basically doing it because of young people going into massive amounts of debt and paying huge fees. Anyway, I'm a fan of that. Before we talk games, I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to have a drink. We're going to have a chat. We're going to be talking to some folks who have joined us. Mark Bro says, my take on this, few quality of life improvements, few renaming of actual features, and a few promises for the future. Yeah, nothing to get super excited about. Exactly, you need to upgrade your car to get the CarPlay update. So my car does have CarPlay, and it is kind of rad. Hello, Fat Panda Cat. I hope you are doing well, my friend. Thank you for being here. Hello to Tremor Bear as well. There's a bear in there. Well, and this is the thing. Will it be able to understand my accent? Will it be able to understand people? They didn't mention, this is the thing, Denise, and I know it's something that you're passionate about. Interestingly, there was no accessibility mentioned. And I know it's a developer conference. It's not for end users, so I get that. But Apple usually put at least one sustainability thing in and at least one accessibility thing in. But they didn't in either. And I think that's why about a month ago, we had that big accessibility drop. So it's not that they're not doing stuff. They've actually got a heap of stuff in the works for accessibility, but they didn't put any of it in this particular WWDC. Which, again, it's interesting. It's a choice. Yes, I was reminded that Apple Maps still exists. I know. The only time I use Apple Maps is in my car, and that's because it hooks up to my phone, and it stalks me, it knows where I'm going, and it just finds the place and sends me there. So that's always good. I know Apple struggles with English to English, let alone English to French. Excellent. Yes. I don't have a wealth. I know I don't have enough friends to poll anything. Nothing worth updating for on day one of the release, unless there's a decent update for GarageBand or Logic. Yeah, and we'll just touch on that quickly. No mention of updates to apps, but there usually isn't. But we do quite often get at least a bug fixes, improvements, updates, and occasionally they'll put a feature or two in that's related to the features that we get here. So maybe we'll talk about it later. We've already dropped the bombshell, which is that you can now select your audio source in your iPad, and I'm assuming that'll cross over into iPhone, though it wasn't mentioned that it did. but it would surely have to. So some of these things are crossover between iPhone and iPad. But when we get to iPad, we'll talk about that again. Use Waze. Yeah, don't. Maybe we have Waze here in Australia, but I know that's a bit bigger in North America. But we don't seem to have as much of the Waze in Australia. Maybe we do, and I just don't use it. I don't know. I like Google because I think more people use Google. A lot of Android users around where I live, and I like the fact that it updates the traffic. So it's sending your data as you're using it, and it means that you can see where those red spots are, and you can change and avoid your things as well. Righty. Are there a few WWDC 25 things coming to iOS, iPadOS, and macOS? Yes. Again, I kind of buried the lead there. We'll jump back over to the pre-planned stuff now. We did get at the very end, I just kind of buried the lead again, but everything's going to be named 26. So forget 19. There is no 19. It's like Matrix, there is no spoon. So there is no 19, there never will be. There's going to be 26. So this does two interesting things. It makes it easier to know that you're on the version that's the year because they update it every year anyway. And they've done that thing where it's going to be called 26, even though it's going to come out in September of 25. So you feel a bit modern. It's like when you play those sports games, they always call it, or the car models. It's always what did I see the other day? The 2027 Chrysler Blenheim. And it's like, it's not even 2026. Like, that's just getting stupid at that stage. So everything going to be 26. Oh, Waze was acquired by Google in 2013. So they're probably using all of the same stuff anyway, would be my guess on that. Let's talk about this stuff, shall we? Let's dive in and talk games. So yes, they always have to throw in games. And again, if you're wondering why do they choose some things and not others? Developers, as Steve Ballmer would say, developers. Because this is for developers. Yes, we are the end users, and this particular keynote is for us, but then don't forget, they then have a week of conferences and a week of development sessions about how to make games, and they really wanted to, every time you would have seen something, they're like, and developers will get access to this cool part of it as well. So that's why that was the case. Visual intelligence. Yeah, it's a thing. No, I actually thought this was okay because visual intelligence can now use whatever's on your screen. This is the way I thought it always should work. So visual intelligence, if you don't know, is that thing where you take a photo of something, you say, what cat be this? And it goes, it fat cat. And you go, cool. And then you get on with your life. But now you can actually use it with things on your screen, which is what I use it for. I take a screenshot of stuff. Like my photos reel is basically my memory or what I want to go back and look at later. So if I'm scrolling through Facebook, I'm like, oh, that's a cool looking gig. Now what you can do is actually take a screenshot of that gig and then tap the visual intelligence thing, and you can set a reminder, or it will put it in your calendar and say, don't forget this. Or you can then say, oh, buy tickets for Coldplay on the 27th of November. I don't know. Why Coldplay? Something like that. What have I got? I don't even know. What have I got here? I've got to go back to my notes. By the way, I watched this an hour ago. So if you're wondering, oh, Pete doesn't seem to be quite on the ball with a lot of this stuff. Yeah, it's because I watched it literally an hour ago. So yeah, that's just the visual intelligence. That's exactly what I was just talking about. That's why I didn't know what it was, because it was what I'd already just discussed. So there's all your iOS stuff. You got your new design. You got your backgrounds and messengers. You got your mix emojis. I didn't really talk about that, but you can use your words and your images to make emojis now. The lock screen they talked about for an amazing amount of time. I didn't cover it, but if you want a picture of your slobber and dog on there, you can have that. You got games, you got widgets in CarPlay. I love that CarPlay just linked in with iOS. Didn't really get its own bit. The hold assist. So what's your top? Of all the iOS stuff, is there something that jumps out at you that you think is the best thing? I like the call screening stuff. As someone who hates talking on the telephone, I don't know why everything can't just be chat or email or text based, because it's no emotiveness involved. You don't have to fight and argue with people. You get a complete trail of everything that's been said. So yeah, someone who uses almost exclusively email and chat and text based stuff, the fact that if someone does call me, it will, if they start talking, it will start interpreting that text. And then if it's something important, if it's the council saying, we're coming to chop that tree down in front of your house, I kind of need to know that if it's from an unknown number. If it's, Peter, we can save you so much money on your electricity bill, you'll blutz, I don't need to know that. That is, I'm on a don't need to know basis. Yeah, call screening. Call screening for the win. I think that's, part of that actually works, exactly. I think that's probably the best iOS feature we're getting. And yes, I will not forget about the preview app. And again, I'm assuming this will come across to iOS as well. It's weird. A lot of the stuff that's in iOS, they said, oh, and all the iOS stuff is in iPadOS. And then they went into a bunch of specific iPadOS stuff. And as we know, iPadOS stuff doesn't always, sometimes, but not always, come across to your, to there. Yeah, the journal app also is coming to iPad. So where you can actually use a pen, which makes so much more sense. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why. Do games turn a profit for Apple? They always seem to be two steps behind the other games giants. They seem desperate to crack the serious gamer market. They do, and it's weird. I mean, games do make a lot of money for Apple, and it's weird that they're trying to get into the serious gaming biz, to be very honest, because the vast majority of money they make is from in-app purchases through the App Store for games like Candy Crush and games like Raid Shadow Legends and games like Age of Empire, all those games, Pokemon Go, all those little casual games that are freemium. Yeah, they're the ones where Apple make, because they make a 30% cut. And this is why people like Epic Games are so angry at them, because all in-app purchases, 30% goes to Apple and 70% goes to the actual developer. So that's where they make their money. And I guess they just want to diversify. They want to try and own the serious gamer market too. But I can't imagine that they're making anywhere near as much money. And that they don't share it specifically. It all goes into one clump. But yeah, those that are in the know almost always tell us that it's, the vast majority of their fortune is made from the mobile freemium model. WatchOS is a thing. Yeah, look, you still get the call screening, so that's pretty cool, because occasionally the phone will ring and I've only got my watch and it'll ring on my watch and I don't know whether to answer or not, and I can't really see who's calling. So if it does the same call screening stuff, that's a good thing. There's a new wrist flick gesture, so you can walk around flicking your wrist in public. To be honest, I skipped through this quite quickly. I like my watch. My watch is functional. It's not fun. And the only thing that's related in any way to this show, this channel, music creation, is that the audio recorder is quite handy. When all you've got is your watch to be able to open up your audio recorder and quickly record in an idea or a word or a line or something, that's pretty cool. So that's why I like my watch. And yeah, they do definitely seem to be investing in gaming a lot more. And by the way, I've got my comments that keep taking up the whole screen there. I've got a very special event happening after this show. I've got Thomas Christ to helping me learn how to use Ecamm properly. So that might actually be helping. If you're wondering why every time I use Ecamm, I can't seem to get it working, yeah, I've got a pro coming in. Hello, Stephen Hewitt, who's probably live right now as we speak as well. All right, let's continue. Let's move past WatchOS. This is pretty cool. tvOS. They talked about this. So if you've got tvOS, if you've got Apple Music subscription, and if you've got an iPhone, you can do, that karaoke thing you can kind of do on your device already anyway. You can now do that. So this is sort of what it's been building towards. You can stick it on the TV, and hey, as a massive fan of SingStar, not unhappy about this. Don't hate this. You could have an iPhone party. You can only invite your Blue Bubble friends, and then you can sit around with your iPhones. People can queue up the next song, like a jukebox style, and then you all sing along to your favorite songs. Hey, it's music. It's putting more music into other people's worlds. And hey, someone might be singing karaoke to your song that you've released through DistroKid. Save 7% off first year on a DistroKid plan. There's all the tvOS stuff. Look, to be honest, the vast majority of the tvOS stuff was promotions for Apple's shows, which are good. Lots of Apple stuff. I like Ted Lasso. People like Slow Horses. Severance was good. So there you go. tvOS. Should we get into the Mac? Yeah, hands up who's ready for some Mac action. As always, Craig Federici did his, the people went in their mini bus and smoked weed and went skiing and decided that macOS should be called Tahoe. And thus is what it's called. Oh, if you're wondering why I'm using still images here and not just playing the video, Apple would take this video down immediately should I be using anything but still images. So you can go watch the video yourself, but you don't have to. You get my entertaining quips instead, which have got to be worth something. So, yeah, here's your Mac screen. And if at first you thought that looked like the corner of an iPad screen, it's because it looks exactly like the corner of an iPad screen. And that's the whole point. Everything is kind of converging together. The whole glass display thing, the liquid glass, is based around Vision OS and that 3D kind of style of having layer upon layer upon layer. And so now everything has got layers upon layers upon layers. So everything's going to look like it's glass sitting on other glass for now, for the next decade. And then until it gets tweaked and changed again, all those rounded corners will go back to sharp squares because that's how design works. It goes in cycles. So now, for now, we got this. But yeah, very similar. Like everything down to like your Wi-Fi and your Bluetooth and your screen sharing, your focus mode there, your display, everything on macOS looks very much like iOS and iPadOS now. Is that a bad thing? Some people will say yes. Depends where you come from. What I tend to find is that people that came from Mac and went to iOS don't like this iOSification of Mac. People like me that know their way around iOS and iPadOS think this is fabulous because now I know how to get to my settings on my Mac. Whereas before, system settings, preference, I had no idea what was going on. Now, all the same settings and it tracks across. So if I'm on Do Not Disturb on my Mac, it updates my phone and my tablet. And do I always want that? Not always, but it is. Monarch on Apple TV is cool and fun. There you go. There's another suggestion. Yeah, send us your suggestions. I know. But just another, At least it's Tahoe. At least it's not Sequoia. I don't have to stop and pause before I try and spell it every time. Or Big Sur, which means nothing to anyone. Like, I've heard of Tahoe. And yes, it's the California Tahoe, not the Nevada Tahoe. But yeah, I've heard of that. You got your colors. Woo, woo, woo. You can put colors and icons. A Formula One car. What a surprise. That's the icon they chose. So you can now actually make your folders colored for the first time ever. No more only blue folders. Talked a lot about continuity. So a lot of the reason that they've changed a lot of this stuff is so that you have continuity between your devices. And if you don't know, like continuity cam and continuity display, it's the whole reason that you can, move your mouse cursor and it will go across to your iPad, or that you can just have continuous things. If you're watching something on your phone, you get in and you dock and then, you pop it up on your screen. So continuity is a thing. Wow, I got a very blurry shot of that one, didn't I? I don't know what I was trying to show here. Oh, that's what the live notifications. There you go. So continuity brings you live notifications, which is handy. So I don't know. I only really use them for Uber and Uber Eats. So only when I'm traveling somewhere or about to eat a delicious burrito and I'm waiting for it, will I get that. So now it'll pop up on my Mac. So if I'm doing some real work, but let's be honest, I'm usually just sitting in the lounge room on my phone at that point in time. We've got, what is this about? Oh, this is your phone. Sorry. I was like, why did I put yes. You now have your phone on your Mac. So, you can make and receive phone calls on your Mac, which is interesting. And I'm assuming, again, it's only iPhone, obviously. But yeah, it's utilizing that whole continuity thing. So I guess this is handy if you're, I don't know, I can only see this annoying me. I can only see this interrupting me and disturbing me, but that's just me. I've never been sitting here at my computer with my phone on silent over there on Do Not Disturb going, I really wish there was a way that I could not only be disturbed, but be disturbed right here on my computer while I'm actually trying to do work. But I appreciate that I am often the exception in things like this. So maybe that's it. There was a lot of talk about shortcuts which again, because it's a developer conference, is a good thing. So they talked about some changes and improvements to shortcuts that you can use intelligent actions in your shortcuts, which is pretty cool. So you can actually make it do things in the private cloud compute model, or you can ask ChatGPT for this sort of stuff. So, doing transcriptions of your recordings. So setting up a shortcut, this is where I can see it being useful. If I want to get transcriptions for a recording, if there's a shortcut that's just sitting there, as soon as I say do a show like this, I can say, go to Ecamm recordings folder, grab latest video, process and transcribe. And if it can do that with one click of one shortcut, instead of me having to open a platform, grab the file, drag it across, do all that sort of stuff, I can see that that could actually be useful. On-device, cloud compute, and ChatGPT. This is another thing that they went very hard on. And again, I buried the lead a little bit with this sort of stuff. We were hoping that they would say, oh, Apple Intelligence is going to be the best thing ever. But they very much hedged their bets. They very much said that there's going to be on-device, which is what you get now, which is the Genmoji stuff and the things that it can do with your data on your phone. There's private cloud compute, which is where it needs a little bit more stuff. It needs more data. It needs its model to jump in and actually help with that. And there's also ChatGPT, which they only mentioned that. There was speculation prior that maybe they'd mention Google, or maybe they'd mention Claude, or maybe they'd mention a different AI provider that you could choose your own. But no, it seems that OpenAI, ChatGPT, are definitely the ones that are ingrained in what Apple are doing at this point in time. Anytime create audio recording is mentioned, anytime there's audio mentioned, I put it there. So yeah, being able to actually create audio recordings out of things using shortcuts, that's cool. I like it. I approve. Um, live pet translation. What? What? What did I put for this? I don't even know. Oh, this was, you know what this was? This was the clipboard. So this is kind of cool. So the spotlight. So if you don't know about spotlight's when you hit command spacebar and it pops up a little spotlight search. A lot of folks just use that for just searching out an app to run. But what they've done now is they've actually added this so that you can actually put other things in there and it will give you something relevant to what you're trying to do. So in this case, you're trying to remove a background from an image. So it pops up that one. So yeah, actions in Spotlight. And the other one was the clipboard history, which I thought was pretty cool. So being like, for me, I copy a lot of stuff, and yeah, being able to grab all the stuff, all the text and all the image from your clipboard is very cool as well. Games. You can play games. I thought this was cool. I don't know what this game is. I forgot to look it up at the time, but tell me if someone knows. I think they called it Inzoi. I was listening at 2 times speed, so it was a little tricky to gather. But it looked like a Sims kind of clone. It was like build a house and have people in it. So I don't know who's making this and what it is. If someone knows more about it, let me know, because I was a huge Sims fan. And my daughter loves playing The Sims. So if there's a Sims-like game that you can play on your Mac, you may not see as many videos for a while. You may see me just playing this game instead. Live pet translation. Your dog is saying you need a new iPad, right? Enzio, is that the name of the? Is that the name of it? You know what? Before we move on, I'm going to ask ChatGPT what Enzio is, because this is my useful one. Hey ChatGPT, what is the game Enzio and when's it coming out? You're not impressing us, ChatGPT.
It looks like there are actually a couple of games with similar names.
Oh.
One is called EnzioWare, which is a micro game collection that launched
No.
in early access.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
No worries. So EnzioWare came out in early access in February 2025. It's basically a collection
It's
of...
Inzoi. It's actually Inzoi. It's a Sims clone. That's what Al Davis told me. Welcome to Mad Users ChatGPT live on the show.
Oh, I see. So it's actually a Sims clone called Inzoi. That's pretty cool. I haven't seen much about it online yet, but if it's coming from Al Davis,
If it's coming from Al Davis. Live hallucinations. So yeah, for all what we can say, because Buggerlugs isn't really adding anything. No changes to Buggerlugs. But sometimes your other AIs also don't really know what's going on. Envio is the main character on Assassin's Creed. Well, there you go. There's extra information. I feel like we now know less somehow than we did before. Any updates on GarageBand? No, but we're about to get into iPadOS, which has some GarageBand adjacent updates that we're going to talk about in just a jiff. Yep, Al Davis is indeed Buggerlugs approved. Who knew? So now that we've spent 5 minutes on something that's completely irrelevant, let's move on. There's your macOS updates. Yeah. What's my favorite? Because I'm trying to sort of pick my favorites out of all. Oh, yeah, and the Journal app. Mark mentioned it before. The Journal app is now available on iPad, where it should have been before as well, not just on the iPhone. So that's a good thing. Yeah, all the same stuff that comes across from iOS. So you got the new icons and the new looks and everything. I'm interested to see what the shortcuts and the spotlight actions are going to be able to do. Because as someone that does a lot of repeated tasks, I must admit I use Spotlight Search just to kind of open my apps most of the time. But if I could make it do multiple things, if I could get a bit smarter about it, because what I'll often do is when I'm doing a podcast, I'll want it to open Ecamm, open GarageBand, create a new recording, set the input to stereo tracks 5 and 6, and start recording. And maybe I could set a shortcut to do that instead of having to go click, 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 click. Maybe I just go click and do a shortcut. Maybe you could do something as well. Is multiple audio sources a thing? No, not multiple, but sort of. Selecting your audio source is a thing. And we'll get to that pretty soon. In fact, I think we're going to dive in and talk. No, Vision OS. I'll just hit pause now if you want to learn all the Vision OS stuff. Okay, now we can move on. I do have a little look at Vision OS occasionally to see if there's anything musically related. There's not really. The Logitech Muse looks interesting. It's like a pen that you draw in the air with. Sure. You can unlock your iPhone with your Vision Pro. Sure. And the new personas that, weirdly, the old personas looked kind of Max Headroom style, and they almost looked comically like Uncanny Valley. Now they just look even more creepy because they're a bit closer. I don't know. Whenever these things try to get close to real, they look worse. And I don't know if other people have the same. Yeah. All right. What did I put here? So this is the big thing. So this is again burying the lead. I put it in the title, so I'm not really burying the lead, but. This is an iPad. You know how I said the Mac before looked like an iPad? Well, now this is an iPad that kind of looks like a Mac screen. Why? Because it's Windows. And by Windows, yes, they've got those rounded corners, but you can have your reminders. You can have your photos. You can have your music in the background there. You can have messaging. You can have everything on your screen at once. So the one big feature of iOS and iPad OS that I like, which is the fact that you only have one screen. You can single task instead of having to multitask like you do on every other platform. Yeah, let's remove that. No, you don't have to do this, but you can. And yeah, like split view and slide over view have been pretty handy for some things. Like if I'm using Logic Pro or even GarageBand and I want to grab a bunch of files and drag them across into my project, the way I do it is using split view. Would this be handy that I could just have Logic Pro open and then like a Files app open on the side? What about when I'm singing a part? I could just have Logic Pro open, voice recording, and then have my notes with my lyrics? Yeah. So there's things here that I think will work, will be good, but we'll see. My apologies. Still got a bit of a cold. Apology. Any music sheet app add-on for GarageBand that you recommend? I need to transcribe. No, not for GarageBand. Logic on Mac does. There probably is sheet music apps, but it depends. Big depends. Maybe someone who's here will know something that you can use. Shortcuts for Logic would be cool. Well, yeah. Look, there's things you can do. I think, and they did say that you could put shortcuts that like have a little keyword. So maybe you could put like LP, like Logic Pro, and then record, or maybe you could set them up to macro buttons or other things. Yeah. I like watching Apple events, but sort of missed back in the day when they'd have some real changes geared towards creators, like a big change in pages and other stuff. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I think they realise that their creative apps are kind of on a different train now. So yeah, it would be rare that we see anything. We did with Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro because they were new and shiny and whatnot. But yeah, it's rarer now to see any significant changes or differences. Let's move on. So there's using the windows, having different windows open. You can use them tiled, so you can have them all on top of each other, and you can sort of swipe up and quickly, like you can on the Mac, you can quickly just go back to just your one thing and go back into focus mode, which is a good thing. So yeah, you can slide your windows around when you're making your panna cotta recipes. It's all good. Yeah, so for everyone that said that macOS should just be on the iPad Pro, it's about as close as it's going to get now. iPadOS is getting pretty close to the point where, yeah, we now have a toolbar. So some of your apps will have a toolbar. Be interested to see if something like Logic Pro embraces this. It kind of already does, but other apps being able to actually use like full-on Mac-style toolbars, including the name of the app as the first menu, and then your files and your edits and your views. Yeah. So it's basically making it like a Mac, which is fine. It's cool. The other thing, let's go to the next screen. So it works well. So the Windows stuff for people like me who use an iPad and then extend it over onto another screen via their Mac or whatever, that's a good thing as well. Here's the changes that you came for. Yes, it's taken us 42 minutes to get to the changes that are actually relevant for most creators and most GarageBandy type people. Files app is better. It actually has a proper list option that has, I don't know, things like date modified and size and the type of image and type of file it is, which will make using files a heck of a lot easier, in my opinion. You can do all the same color coding, so that's cool. When you're just trying to find that GarageBand folder, having an orange folder with a guitar on it, perfect, beautiful. Should have been here before. I like it. Open with. Oh, yeah. That thing where you want to be able to make sure that your app's always open with the right program and not the wrong program. And there's things like iOpener and all these sort of third-party apps you needed to use in order to make sure that your thing opened with the right thing. Anyone that's used Patreon and tried to, watch a YouTube video from Patreon links and, yeah. So iOS and iPadOS have always been very bad at making you able to open a thing with the thing you want. They now have that. By the way, all this stuff down here, where you got Power Pop Strawberry, you got Album Launch Plan, Power Pop Ear. What the hell is going on with this? Power Pop Owl? It's very weird. Apparently Power Pop Strawberry is the name of a song, as is Power Pop Ear. Go figure. Go figure. And you can put folders down in your dock. You can duck them. They duck down in your dock. So I guess, would I put my GarageBand folder in the dock? Maybe. Not really. No, actually. Because it's got too much stuff in it. It would be see, it's doing the big sort of cascading thing out of it. Yeah, I'd then just press the open in files bit. I'd just be tapping on this bit here. I wouldn't be doing anything else. All right. And then preview. Now, if you're not a Mac user, you might not know what preview is. Preview is basically the default app that opens things like PDFs and images and any sort of document that you don't have another thing to open. Preview will open it. So now, oops, that's the next thing. I didn't even get a screenshot of preview. So you'll be able to do things like edit PDF documents, like do quick quick and dirty photo edit stuff just in the preview app. It's handy. It's what is one of the things that separates the Mac, because you don't have to have things like Adobe and like big bloaty apps. Preview just is a quick way of opening and seeing stuff. All right, what you've all been waiting for, the ability to select your audio source. Now, this exists sort of right now. So at the moment, you might have seen videos I've done about this or rants I've done about this in the past. Right now, you can use external microphones. You can use audio interfaces. You can use mixers. You can use a lot of things. But here's the problem. Every time an app decides to just randomly change something with the audio, it reverts back to your system settings. And this has been a huge problem for a lot of folks, especially those using things like web apps, because WebKit, which if you didn't know is not only Safari but also Chrome and everything else that is on iOS and iPadOS uses WebKit, which is the one web internet browser that you can actually use. So everything that uses WebKit have this same problem with audio. What they have now said is that you can select. So it's not just the last device that you plug in, which is the way it works, until something else just flicks it back to the system audio. And this is what was happening. So people would do things like, I think I saw Jade ask before, people would use things like StreamYard in the browser, and they would set up their microphone. It would all be great. They'd be ready to record. They'd be ready to play. And then as soon as they hit play or record, the browser would say, nah, we're taking this back to system setting. It will go back to the internal microphone without you doing anything. Now you can actually select it and make it stick to the device that you want it to stick to. And I like that they're showing there a Bluetooth microphone. They're like, yeah, professionals like using their good quality stuff. Like Bluetooth microphones? No. Like audio interfaces, like your iRigs, like your Steinbergs, your Focusrites, all the rest of it. So that's a good thing. And you can now use the voice isolation mode on your own recordings, regardless of whether it's just in the Voice Memos app or any other app. So I guess this is good for where this would come in handy, things like Zoom, being able to use a system setting for voice isolation. A lot of them do it themselves anyway, but maybe like smaller apps where, like games and things, where you just want to be able to isolate your voice, like doing team chat type things during games. I don't know. But it's a good thing, because it means that not only can Apple apps use the voice isolation engine built in now, but any other app can use that same voice isolation engine. And one thing to keep in mind is, don't get confused, because voice isolation is good if you're talking to someone and you want to record it, because what it's doing is removing the background noises. But what it can do is it can remove some of the frequencies you do want. So do keep that in mind if you're recording, say, vocals, or if you're recording guitars and things. You know that thing where it sounds like it's coming in and out? Yeah, that's noise cancellation or voice isolation. That's what that's doing, because it's trying to remove the background. So if you've ever been watching or listening to a live stream and you're like, why does it sound all wavery? Why does it sound like it's good 1 minute and then it cuts out? It's because they've got some sort of noise cancellation or isolation on that audio. Do we have anything else? I thought this was kind of interesting that you can now use your AirPods to record studio quality. I wish they wouldn't use that. Studio quality vocals. You can't. It won't sound as good as just using a real microphone. But you can do that. But what I thought was interesting is you can turn on and off your recording by just tapping on your AirPod. And here's the thing I wish you could do. Just do that, but have it in your hand. But you can't, because your AirPod will only be on when it's in your ear. So I would love the ability to put it down and just use it like a little mini remote, so that I could just tap my AirPod and my recording would come on remotely. But no, alas. I mean, there are like $5 Bluetooth microphone, like, what are they called? Remote camera shutters that you can use that do actually do that. Alrighty, we're coming towards the end here, folks. Local capture, this is kind of cool. So what this does is when you're using, say, Zoom or a FaceTime call, you can actually set this to, within iOS itself, locally capture the audio. So if you don't know if you're doing a podcast or an interview or something, The audio at your end is going to sound great because it's recording it straight off your microphone. Sometimes, when you get those things where it slows down or it speeds up or it cuts out or it glitches, that's because it's coming across the connection from the other person to you. If they get a local end, what's called a double ender, which sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? But if you're doing a double ender, it means that both parties record locally at their end. So you can still have the conversation and just accept the glitches and the slowdowns and the speed ups, but it's also recording good quality audio at their end and good quality audio at your end. And what you do is you grab those two, you smush them together, and you get a good quality recording of both. So local capture, a good change, a good win. And this is going to be niche for people like me, maybe Jade, anyone who does things like encoding video, or maybe not audio, because you know what, rendering out an audio, even a large audio file, is only going to take you 3-4 minutes. But still, the good news is you can now switch tasks. So when you're doing something like encoding, it'll put a little live notification thing up the top there. You can then switch out of that. So for instance, I use LumaFusion. If the LumaFusion devs use this, and I really hope they do, it means that I won't be stuck there, because what will often happen is I'll start rendering out a video for a tutorial, and then I want to go open Logic to take a screenshot for my thumbnail, and I can't do it because I'm waiting for the render to come out. So yeah, I've wanted to be able to do this for a long time. So for me, this is kind of the best thing. This is the best option of all of these different things. There they all are. So there's all of the different things, the updated files app, the ability to change your audio settings. It's, yeah. So audio input setting and background tasks, while you can still use other tasks, are my things, my jams. And when can you try all this stuff? Oh, am I freezing? Have I got lagging issues? Let's see if I'll come off me Wi-Fi. I'll come off Wi-Fi. It's yeah, it's not telling me anything here. Yeah, I reckon that's what's happening. As soon as I started talking about quality and double enders, it went bad. Let me know if there's any life left in the stream, if things are happening. Otherwise, I'll just keep going anyway, because it'll record this part out. Can we use the new Files app and selecting audio devices in iOS 26, even on a 6.9 and lower iPhone screen? That's the big question. The $1 million question, Emilio. In fact, you know what? I'm going to come back to this view just in case that helps thing. Yeah, I'll go back to Emilio here. Can we use a new Files app selecting audio devices? Yeah. So we don't know. This is the thing. They haven't been clear about the iPhone versus the iPad version and whether all of these changes will be available on both the iPhone and the iPad. So hello to Philbert Neon, to me or YouTube or both. So my sincerest apologies for that. But for anyone that can still hear, yeah, public beta is out in July. The development beta is out right now. And then this will come this fall. So yes, we do the random weird seasons thing, which is fall. So if you wait till fall, you'll get it. So what does that mean? Well, September, basically. Because September is when the iPhone... Hey, will it be called the iPhone 26? What do you reckon? iPhone 26? All right. So it seems like we're better now. So all of that weird ranting was just to tell you that the beta, development beta is there now. The public beta comes out in July, and this will come out in fall, which means September. So the iPhone going from, what's the current, 16 to 17, what are the chances that you get the iPhone changes to the iPhone 26? If they really wanted to align everything, having the iPhone 17 running iOS, although then, I don't know, because for that, then as soon as it's not 2026, like it means that people would, it means that people would always want the latest year, the latest model. And yes, updating during Songtember, no freaking way. So yeah, I've what I'm going to do. I'm not sure. I haven't decided if I'm doing the development beta yet. In fact, let's see. Am I registered as a developer at this point in time? Because I do have the benefit of having this iPad Mini that is currently on loan from Apple as well. So it kind of gives me another high end iPad that I can start playing with. And it would be interesting to do things like test out things like the new audio device switching or the windowing or things like that. I know being on a very small device, but we will see that. All right, it's firing up. iPadOS 18.5, no. Beta updates. iPad 26 development beta. Device added to account. All right. Okay, we're going to go for it. I'm putting the development beta on right now. Okay. Yep. Punch it in. Hands up who'd like to see a demo with the development beta. Because I can record that or maybe even come back live later today or this evening and actually demo the development beta, and we'll check out some of these new iPad features. Could be interesting. So yeah, that's downloading now. This is again, I wouldn't recommend. Don't anyone do the development beta. Definitely not the development beta. Public beta if you really want to, if you've got a second device, but do not update. Yeah, Christmas is a great time to update. Let everyone else iron out the bugs. Yeah, let everyone else have all of the fun, quote unquote fun, and then you come back and just mop up when everything's better. So yeah, usually 26.1, so at least 26.01, let them get those initial bugs out. But 26.1, as soon as you get to the .1 update, that's usually when you are safer to do so. So we will see how that all goes. Thanks for your patience with that one. I'm sorry that we had that little internet outage. It's probably the folks in this area all logging on and doing their video conferences and sucking up all my bandwidth. Or maybe they're Netflix and chilling. As I say, less Netflix, more chilling. All right. That's going to do it for this one. Again, highlights, iPad, choosing your audio device. The new Files app updates are welcome. I'm looking forward to those. Windowing, not so much. Some of the call screening features on iOS, pretty cool. But outside of that, is there anything here that you're going to rush out and do that's going to change your world as a GarageBand or as a Logic Pro creator or as a mobile creator or even as a Mac creator? Not particularly. In fact, if anything, for your Logic Mac and GarageBand Mac folks, maybe you don't want to update to this very glassy iOS-y, Vision OS-y kind of feel. Maybe you like the feel of your desktop environment. So there you go. All right, thanks everybody for being here. If I missed anything when we had the little problems there, I apologize. If there were any other questions that came in, but I think we're good. I think we've covered most things. I haven't heard about Timbaland's AI record, but that's disturbing. We'll end on that. Please be kind to yourselves this week, folks. Be kind to others. Keep creating. I'll see you next time here on GarageBand Weekly. Bye for now.